last thing is that they take control. They're assertive. I'll tell you, this is the one, so Challenger's been out since 2011. This is the one we get the most confusion about. We may have done this to ourselves by calling them challengers and saying they take control, and so people assume we're talking about rude, aggressive, obnoxious salespeople. That is not what we're talking about. That is a different profile called the jerk. This is somebody very different. Challengers are assertive. We know sales is hard, right? And so think about the moments, the critical moments in the sales conversation. I'll give you a couple examples. So think about if what we're talking about is coming in with a new idea, and maybe it's a provocative, surprising idea that the client hasn't thought about before. Most of our customers are not going to accept that at face value. They're going to push back, especially those who've been in their companies for a long time, been doing their jobs for a long time. They're not going to come in and say, oh, you got me. I totally missed that. They're going to push back. You know, they're gonna want to engage in the back and forth. They're gonna want, if you come in and say something crazy, they're gonna want you to back it up. They may be just looking to prove you wrong, but they're looking to mix it up a little bit. Now, a challenger, an insight salesperson is gonna take control of that situation. If you're a relationship builder and you put that big idea on the table and the customer says, that doesn't apply, I don't buy it. What you're going to do is you're probably going to put that idea back in your bag, and then you're going to ask the client, what's keeping you up at night, right? You're going to get back into the customer. You want to get back, kind of be accepted into the customer's comfort zone. The challenger is trying to push the customer outside their comfort zone. So in that moment, what they might say is, I totally understand, and I know this is the first time we've ever met, but I also know we've only got 45 minutes left in the meeting, and I meet with CIOs and CTOs like you and companies like yours all the time. And I'm telling you, those other folks have found this to be really, really eye-opening stuff. So can we go through it a little bit? Let's make it a conversation, not a lecture, and see if we can square the circle, see if it does apply to your organization. Because I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. So they hold their ground. There's nothing rude or obnoxious or aggressive about that. It's merely being a professional, empathetic, but firm, right? This also happens at the end of the sale. We talk about pricing. I remember presenting at a meeting years ago. It was for a tech company out in San Francisco, and there were literally 3,000 people in this ballroom. And at this moment, I said, I think I had like a little bit too much coffee. I kind of, you know, like in pool where you're like really good up to a point and then you go a little bit too far. That was this presentation. So I had like a preacher thing going on that day, and I was like, think about taking control. What do you do at the end of the quarter when the customer you've been chasing all year calls you up and says, we will sign the contract, we'll sign the letter of agreement, but you got to bring down the price by 5%. What do you do in that moment? And you're one deal short of winning the trophy and going to Cancun. What are you going to do? And somebody in the back of this room, the loneliest voice in the room, it turned out, yelled out, give them 6%. And so in the first row, what always happens in sales meetings, the first row is all the executives, right? The CFO's head, you ever seen The Exorcist where the person's head spins? I've never seen anything like this. Whoever that was, I don't think, didn't come back to the next year's sales meeting. And it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, right? So we're not really going to go give the customer more than what they want. But if you're a relationship builder and the customer calls you at the end of the quarter and they ask for a 5% concession on price, you might not give them 5, but you might give them 2.5. You might give them 2 and say maybe your manager can get a special approval to give them 3. And you're thinking, I'm meeting you halfway. And what you're really thinking if you're a salesperson, if you're a relationship builder, is now I'm negotiating. But you're not negotiating. You're just losing at that point. And challengers understand that. Inside salespeople hold their ground. They will acknowledge the customer's price concession request, but then they'll defer. So they might say something like, look, I totally understand. I know it's the last day of the quarter and family really wants to go to Cancun. I'd love to win that trophy and make President's Club and hit my goal. But you and I have been talking for almost a year now about this solution and implementing it in your organization. So with your permission, can we just go back through where you guys see the real value here and make sure we're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's? Because I'm confident when we have that conversation, we might find some opportunities to enhance the value of what we're going to do for you that actually mean more to your company than a 5% discount and actually are going to be easier for me to get. So let's have that conversation.